Bring in former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Lots to pick through here. Let me just show you something that Xi Jinping said to Putin yesterday. Call for number one. It says, there's a change coming that hasn't happened in 100 years. When we are together, we are driving this change. They often speak in riddles. What do you take from it?
Oh, good morning, Dana. Great to be with you. Look, they often do speak in riddles, but this is no riddle. And to hear the White House play this down as if it's insignificant or unimportant is an enormous strategic mistake. It may be a shotgun wedding, but they're still married, Dana. And at least for today, the Chinese Communist Party is providing lethal assistance to Ukraine, almost certainly. Now China is getting energy at a discounted price. Think about that. American manufacturing companies are paying full freight for energy today, and the Chinese are getting a 15-20% discount on each barrel of oil, allowing them to continue to dump their products here in America. Now, the Biden administration has failed. They've allowed the Russians and the Chinese to come together in this way, and it presents enormous risk to the United States of America and every citizen.
Peter Doocy had an exchange with the National Security Advisor spokesperson, John Kirby. Let's listen here.
When President Biden met with Xi, he said, I want to make sure that every country abides by the international rules of the road. Does he think China is abiding by the international rules of the road?
We have significant concerns about China's behavior, particularly their coercive and aggressive behavior. But there are other areas where we believe there's room for cooperation with China. But in order to do that, Peter, you got to keep those lines of communication open.
Does that present a good point that it's important for us to have these lines of communication be open? Like when we had the spy balloon, there was a situation where you could not get an actual answer out of China.
Dan, this is pretty typical of this administration putting process over substance, right? The ability to make a phone call as opposed to the ability to actually change the Chinese Communist Party's behavior against the United States. Look, there's a couple things we should think our way through. One, it's clear Russia is the junior partner here. It's clear that they're now becoming a vassal state of the Chinese Communist Party. They have 1,000 nuclear weapons to add to the Chinese arsenal. That's bad for us. The UN has always been troubling. Now 2 members of the UN Security Council joined together against the United States of America. That's bad for the United States as well. And finally, I think we may be in a situation again where this administration has drawn a red line and the Chinese Communist Party has just crossed it willy-nilly. That's bad too. They said if lethal assistance was provided, there would be real cost to China. I've seen them do nothing in the face of what we can now see as clearly a concordat, a deal between Xi and Putin, which is going to put the people of Ukraine at risk, therefore Europe and the United States as well.
Politico has a piece today that says Biden administration lack of information on spy flight. What the Biden administration isn't telling Congress about spy balloons, goes on to say the delay by the administration on releasing information about the balloon and the other objects shot down last month raises questions about the extent to which the U.S. fully understands what intelligence foreign governments may be collecting without Washington's knowledge. You were also at the CIA, not just the State Department. Is it possible that there are things that are just kept secret for our own national security purposes, or are they just trying to hide something because they don't know?
Dana, it's certainly possible that there are things that can't be shared broadly that they actually know. I'm confident that they have shared it with members of Congress. At least they should have shared it with them. They have an obligation to do so. We're pretty good at figuring out what the bad guys are spying on us about. We always miss things. This is the world of espionage, Dana. But make no mistake about it, we should be incredibly focused. Remember, it seems like a long time ago when the Chinese were running spies from their consulate in Houston, Texas, and I recommended to the president we close it down, and we did. They are definitely trying to undermine our way of life. They want our kids to live more like their kids, and that would be bad for the United States. We need to be vigilant in making sure we understand what it is the Chinese Communist Party is trying to do to us, and then pushing back against it. And I've seen no evidence to date that the Biden administration is up to that task.
One last thing. I was just reading David Ignatius, the columnist who writes on foreign policy every week in the Washington Post. He said that America should be concerned about more cooperation between China and Russia. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, every once in a while, even the Post gets something right. David's got that right. We should be concerned about this. We spent a lot of time thinking our way through how to separate the Chinese Communist Party and Russia. They've now found a way to come together, even if it did feel a little like a couple of BFFs signing a silly agreement that doesn't mean much. But the economic engagement between the two is important and will impact the United States and jobs all around our country. And we should be absolutely on point in pushing back against what it is they're trying to do. We have the tools to do that, Dana. We're not victims here. We just have to be ready to act.
All right, Mike Pompeo, thank you. We'll watch what happens on the Hill today. John?
Thank you, Dana.